Good afternoon, everyone. We wanted to welcome you to the Office of Provider Development's training on the Person-Centered ISP version 3.4 updates. This training is part of the annual ISP update process and focuses on ISP updates that will become effective May 2nd of this year. A recorded session will be made available as quickly as possible following the completion of both trainings to include the video recording, the slides, and the Q&A. My name is Julie Palmer. I'm a Community Resource Consultant in Region 5 and the System Team Lead. Also presenting today is Sarah Thompson, Community Resource Consultant and Supported Decision-Making Team Lead for Virginia. And welcome to all other community resource consultants from across the state, as well as Eric Williams, Director of Provider Development, who is also here with us today. Welcome to support coordinators and providers. We would like to invite you to put any questions that you have in the Q&A area, not chat, so that we can answer them through a Q&A document. We don't need your name and agency in chat because we're not tracking attendance, but we will look for your questions and we will answer them as quickly as possible and send out the Q&A document through the listserv. They are important to us. We can address questions live here in the training today due to the number of people attending, but we will stay after the training is complete and give everyone plenty of time to answer any questions that you have in the Q&A. All right, so this training is designed to introduce you to updates made to the WaMS ISP, which will be available for use on May 2nd of 2023. Our focus today is to explain the expectations related to the updates, the reasons they were made, how to document for each element, and how data will be used. And a word before we jump in. The people being supported are at the heart of everything we do. Person-centered practices strive to give all people positive control over the lives they have chosen for themselves. While there are daily opportunities for meaningful conversations with people, the ISP meeting is a focused time to discuss a person's hopes, dreams, and wishes for their lives. While asking questions about work, community life, relationships, and housing, they've been ongoing, which sets the stage for meaningful and genuine conversations as the best way to explore what a person wants for their future. The ISP updates will better document and demonstrate that we are capturing information and supporting individuals to explore options in a number of important life areas. The ISP updates were found to be necessary to improve the quality and breadth of conversations with individuals about supported decision-making and gather information related to satisfaction, additional actions, comments, and areas of supported decision-making support. Also, to better describe the location for medication side effects information, to capture health screenings information, and to enhance the ability to obtain data. This is a brief summary of the updates that were made. First, under supported decision-making, if an individual does not have a supported decision-making agreement, an SDMA, there should be a conversation about supported decision-making, and a new question on the ISP now asks, is the individual interested in developing one? If the individual does have a supported decision-making agreement, the ISP now asks if the individual is satisfied with their supporter, and if not, a box will populate allowing a narrative for action steps. Next, there's an updated list of supported decision-making decisions that are supported under the agreement. And there's also an added comment box for representation information or comments to include guardians, authorized representatives, co-guardians as applicable. Under medication, there's an updated box for the location of where medication side effect information is stored and accessible. And lastly, under physical conditions, there is now a list of optional health screenings or vaccination categories added for any of these that may have been completed in the past 12 months. So let's take a deeper dive into each of those element updates. All right, remember the element changes to the ISP include supported decision-making, medication, and physical conditions. Let's start with supported decision-making. You will find updates in the WaMS ISP Part 2 in the Essential Information area under Representation. And to tell us more about this is Sarah Thompson. Sarah is our supported decision-making lead for the Commonwealth. Sarah?
Thank you, Julie, and welcome this afternoon, everybody. If you've been to one of the supported decision-making trainings before, then you all know that everyone receives supports with making decisions, and it's not just for individuals with disabilities. Many individuals with disabilities are able to live independent lives and make important decisions through the use of supported decision-making. Supported decision-making and supported decision-making agreements allow individuals with disabilities to maximize their self-determination through making the ultimate decision regarding their supports and services, while also receiving assistance by those they trust to ensure that they receive all of the information needed to make an informed decision. It is the expectation that least restrictive alternatives always be considered first before more restrictive substitute decision-making options, such as a legal guardianship or conservatorships. Supported decision-making agreements are a way for individuals with disabilities to formally document who they want to help them when it comes to making decisions about specific life areas and how the person, also known as a supporter, will help. In addition to answering the questions on the ISP, it is important to ensure that if an individual has a supported decision-making agreement, the CSB and providers affected by the agreement retain a copy of it in their file and utilize it for various decision-making processes. So let's dive a little deeper into the updates on the supported decision-making section. The PC-ISP provides opportunities for the support coordinator and team to determine if the individual is interested in developing an agreement if they don't already have one. If they do already have a supported decision-making agreement, a question has been added to determine if they are satisfied with their supporters. If they are not, a text box populates so you can document who will support the individual with making changes or updates to their agreement. Additionally, if someone has a supported decision-making agreement, we ask that you select what areas their agreement indicates that they receive support in. The areas listed on the PC-ISP now include health and personal care, friends and partners, money, where I live and community living, school and education, working, my rights and safety, meeting and talking with my supporters, and other, if someone receives supports in a life area not listed. If other is chosen, a text box will populate so you can type in the other life areas listed on their agreement. A comment box has also been added under the representation section for any applicable comments regarding any information related to the representative section, such as if someone has a co-guardian. And we will see more about that later on. For now, let's look at what the updates look like. Under representation in Part 2 of the essential information, if the individual does not have a supported decision-making agreement, so you've answered no to that first question, an additional question will populate asking if the individual is interested in developing a supported decision-making agreement following a conversation about it. The answer to this question is simple. It's either yes or no. If the individual is interested in developing a supported decision-making agreement, please ensure that the team discusses who will assist them in creating this and by when during the PCISP meeting. This information can be documented in the comment box for additional information about the representation section, which you will see in a few more slides. If the individual does have a supported decision-making agreement, so you would answer yes to the first question, a new question will populate and ask, if the individual has a supported decision-making agreement, is the individual satisfied with their support or supporters? Again, this is a simple yes or no answer. If you answer yes, that the individual is satisfied with their supports, then you can move on to the next question. However, if you answer no, the individual is not satisfied with their supporters, a comment box will populate to provide space for documenting who will support the individual and making changes or updates to their supported decision-making agreement. This update gathers information about the satisfaction with supported decision-making agreement supporters. In the ISP version 3.3, which y'all are currently in, it also asks what decisions the individual receives support with on their agreement. However, the life areas are being updated in the ISP version 3.4 to match those listed on the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template. And these include, again, health and personal care, friends and partners, money, where I live and community living, school and education, working, my rights and safety, meeting and talking with my supporters, and other. It is important to note that individuals do not have to use the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template if they want to create an agreement. If someone has a supported decision-making agreement that is a different format from the Virginia template, select the life areas that you feel most closely match, or select other and type the life areas listed in their agreement. And finally, as highlighted in the red box, whoops, back one more, there we go, thanks, Julie. A text box has been added for comments about representation for the individual. This can include information about if they have a DBHDS authorized representative, legal guardian, or co-legal guardians. This is also the section where you can include details about plans to develop a supported decision-making agreement if interested. So we acknowledge that there is some confusion still regarding the difference between supported decision-making agreements, or SDMAs, and substitute decision makers, SDMs. Supported decision-making agreements are formal written agreements by an adult capable of making an informed decision with the support of others. The document outlines when they want to receive support with decisions, who they want support from, and how they want to receive that support. A substitute decision maker is someone who has been assigned to make decisions on behalf of another person who has been found to lack capacity or legal competency. This can be a legal guardian appointed by the court or a DBHDS authorized representative who is appointed to make decisions for a person receiving care with DBHDS licensed providers. The next few slides are just going to show us a summary of the ISP elements, where they're located in the ISP, and the data entry options, as well as the use of the data for the representation section of the 3.4 version of the ISP. Each of the elements and questions are listed here on the left, and all are located in Part 2 of the essential information of the PC-ISP. Most of the updates in the 3.4 version of the PC-ISP are related to supported decision-making. The first question, if the individual has a supported decision-making agreement, are they satisfied with their support or supporters? The entry options are yes or no. And this information tells us the number of individuals who are satisfied with their supported decision-making agreement supporters. Next, we have, if no to satisfaction, who will support the individual in making changes to their supported decision-making agreement? A text box will appear for information to be entered into, and this provides data regarding who will support the individual with making changes or updates to their agreement. An updated element is the decisions that are supported under the agreement. The data entry options are listed here, including the option of other. This data tells us the areas of support under the supported decision-making agreement that are chosen and aligns with the life areas on the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template. Following along with the list of decisions that are supported under the agreement is a text box for more information if other is chosen in the life areas. This allows us to collect data regarding other decisions and/or life areas that an individual receives supports, such as those listed on another version of a supported decision-making agreement. And lastly, a text box has been added for any needed comments related to the representative section on the PC-ISP. If you feel like you need more information on supported decision-making, this link will take you to DBHDS's supported decision-making page. From the DBHDS homepage, you can select Get Help and then Supported Decision-Making. On this page, you'll find more information about supported decision-making agreements in Virginia, the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template, training recordings and documents and resources, as well as my contact information should you have any questions or concerns. I will also be hosting a training called Decision-Making Options, What You Need to Know as a Support Coordinator or Provider next week. The same training will be held twice on Tuesday, April 11th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and then repeated again on Thursday, April 13th from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Information and registration for this training was sent out on March 15th through the Provider Development listserv. But if you need more information, please feel free to contact me at sarah.thompson@dbhds.virginia spelled out.gov. And I'll let you know it's Sarah without an H. Otherwise, it'll go to a different person. And that is it for supported decision making. So I will hand it back to Julie.
Great, thank you, Sarah. All righty. Our second area of element updates, we have one update under the medication section. So in the Part 2 essential information under medications, one update was made. And let's look at expectations first. So there is an expectation that people with DD waiver have the opportunity to enjoy healthy lives, have any current health conditions addressed through appropriate health professionals, and realize the benefits of good health. Everyone with DD waiver should have documentation of the location of where medication side effect information is stored and accessible. So if we look at the new ISP, when you're entering medications in the medication section, there will now be a text box for the support coordinator to enter in the location where the medication side effect information is stored and accessible. It is expected that this location truly holds the current side effects of medications for the individual. So I'll give you a second just to take a look at the boxes. Under managing medications, you can see the medication name and then the location. And then when you hit enter, then it will add it to the list. All right, the new ISP element is a modified description for the location information for medication side effects. That's the only change. The location where the side effect information is stored and accessible. This modification was made in the Part 2 Essential Information section under Medications, and it contains a 6,000 character text box. Data will include where side effects information is stored and accessible. And our last area to have an update is still under the Part 2, under physical conditions. Under the Part 2, the physical and health conditions section, you will see one update. And again, let's look at expectations. We continue to have the expectation that people are enjoying healthy lives and their current health conditions are addressed and they realize the benefits of good health. Everyone with DD waiver should have documentation of optional health screenings and vaccinations. So let's take a look at what this looks like on the version 3.4 of the ISP. A new question reads, any of the following optional health screenings or vaccinations in the past 12 months? The areas include an eye exam, a hearing test, a pap test for women 21 and older, a mammogram for women 40 and older, and a colorectal cancer screening for people 45 and over. Also, optional vaccines may also be checked. This is just a checklist, and if the individual has had any of these screenings in the last 12 months, you would just check the box. All right, so in summary, the ISP element under physical and health conditions, it's a checklist for optional health screenings or vaccinations completed in the last 12 months. This update is in the Part 2 Essential Information and contains a checklist to include data entry options for all of the listed screenings or vaccinations. This provides data of completed health screenings or vaccinations that were completed in the last 12 months. As we do each year, the transition to the updated PCISP will begin on May 2nd of this year. Annual meetings held on or after May 2nd will be in version 3.4. If you're already modifying or if you've already started an ISP before May 2nd, it will be in version 3.3. But we do ask you to check with your electronic health records vendor if you want more detail specific to your CSB. If you have any questions about this training or anything related to DD waiver services, you can reach out to the appropriate community resource consultant on either the individual, the provider, the system, employment, or supported decision-making team in your region. We are going to stay in this training for as long as you need us to give you time to put in any questions that you may have in the Q&A area. They're important to us and we will get you answers as quickly as we can. And remember, we are recording, so we are going to put out a recorded version, the slides, and the Q&A, and they're going to be made available as soon as possible. Our second training, which is a duplicate of this training, is going to be on Thursday morning. So we thank you all for your attendance today and have a great week. And we're just going to sit quietly and give you time to ask any questions that you may have in the Q&A so that we can generate a document. Thank you, everyone.